Hey folks, Manny CA here with another informational, educational, entertaining video on firearms design, maintenance, and repair. Now, today we're doing another video in our long line of the accurate revolver. This time we're looking at adjusting your cylinder yokes. What is that? That's right. The yoke right here is the most sensitive part of any revolver. Especially on a double action. Well, only on a double action because they're the only ones that have these things. This right here is probably one of the biggest culprits for becoming out of line, because you've got, for lack of a better word, dummies that are Hollywooding their revolvers. And when I say that, I mean they like to open the revolver, spin it real fast, and then snap it shut. And you know what that does? That just screws up your yoke. What we're gonna do is show you how to figure out if your yoke is misaligned and how to do it. First things first, if you're not comfortable doing this, don't do it. And if this is your first time doing this, be prepared to send your gun back if you screw it up, which you probably will. Don't be afraid, send it back to the manufacturer and have them fix it for you. But otherwise, how else are you gonna learn if you don't try it yourself? Oh, word of note, they sell an alignment tool that's out on the market. And what you do is you take off your screw right here, your cylinder screw, pop your cylinder off, and then you put this tool on here, and it's a gauge. And what it does is it measures how far off your yoke is when it goes into the back of the shield here. You see that? A little pinhole right there, where the back lock locks the cylinder into frame. But if you don't want to spend the, I forgot what it's like, 50, 60, 70 bucks for the tool, you could do this at home. Easy enough to diagnose. If your revolver is sticky to open, and when I mean sticky, I mean it's like hesitates, doesn't want to open all the way. First off, you want to look here. And on this revolver, we already kind of fixed it because we were just in a hurry. If you see any kind of gap between the frame and the yoke, chances are it's been Hollywooded. We're trying to get the yoke back in alignment. And what happens is it gets flipped and it gets just kind of tweaked. And the way you can tell, easiest way you can tell, is to take and, first of all, you know if it's been doing like a sticky open where you're like, oh, it doesn't want to just open automatically. You know something's wrong with it. So you know, okay, already there's an inkling that something's not right. You can take and test it yourself using your cylinder release as a guide. Yeah. First thing to do, you can check left and right. And the way you can tell is if it's hard to close, I mean really hard to close, where you've got to push it in and you'll see the cylinder latch here move. That just sits in perfectly, and that's with no force. If you have to force it closed, this will bump on you, and you'll see it. You'll know it. Now, take it from the opposite extreme, push it on this side, and what you're going to do is you're putting force on that pin that sits in the back of the recoil shield, and then you're going to move your cylinder latch release. A little bit of pressure right here. If the release comes back, you see how that's a little sticky? That means your cylinder pin is not lined up correctly in the back. Another way you could tell if it's up or down is you put a little bit of pressure, grab these two fingers, put a little bit of pressure on the bottom here and push up. Just a little bit. You're pushing up like you're trying to, just like that. And then do the same thing with the cylinder release. And you see how the cylinder release just slides back? There's no resistance, no hesitation. Now we're going to try from the top. Push it down from the top, just like this. See how that goes back? So that tells us that up and down, it's not canted. It's great. But if it was canted, is we're going to remove our screw here. Oh, and always put tape on your correct, even if you've got the correct size screwdriver, just so you don't mar your finish. And you want to make sure that you have the proper screw. Sometimes people take it apart and they put the wrong screw in. See how this has a little tip on it? This is a plunger tip because it's an older model. That's what sits in the recess of your cylinder, just like that, keeping it. So even if you have problems with it opening and closing, first try different degrees of tightness on this screw. Well, first make sure that you have the right screw. Second, make sure that it's seated all the way. Maybe it's too tight, maybe it's too loose. Most of the time, the problems are when you guys are Hollywooding it, or those people are taking it and they're flipping it closed like that. What that does is it tweaks the yoke off to the right. So what we have to do is bend it to the left. Bending it to the left is gonna entail hitting it smartly right here. I'll use a piece of lead, but I like to tape up my revolver here. So you saw this was sticking just a little bit. Let's go back and show that one more time. So when you sit here and you're putting a little bit of pressure, I'm putting pressure with my thumb here. You see how that's hesitating coming back? That means that this is way off to the right. My buddy Jim over here brought this pistol over, brought this nice, beautiful Smith over, and showed us that's what was happening. It started sticking. We were shooting it the other day, and all of a sudden it started sticking. We're like, what the heck? I kind of had an inkling, but I didn't tell him until we brought it back. Always a sucker for a video, people. And I take a 1 pound lead bar. This is pure lead, by the way. Casted by yours truly. And with the full flat area, just give it a wrap. And what we're doing is we're turning that yoke this way since we're driving it down because it closes up. And you may have to do it. You may have to do it a few times. And already I could feel it. See? It's still catching a little bit, but it's hesitating. So, one more time. Take it and just wrap it. Smart wrap. And what we're doing is we're bending the yoke minutely this way. I'm talking hundreds of thousands, halves, quarters of thousandths of an inch. You want to do one blow at a time and then check it out. Beautiful. Look. You see that? I'm putting some pressure and it's loose. So now we shouldn't have any more sticky extractions. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Yeah, that's nice. Another thing you can look for is you want to make sure that your cylinder release latch is not gunked up. Let's get a view in there. There we go. It's not gunked up and is moving freely. But we already checked that. What happens if you've got to hammer it the other way? You got to go to the right. Take something hard and you put it right here between the yoke and the frame. Take a penny, stick it there. See how we got that? And you're going to close it. It's not going to close all the way. And then you take it and you're going to wrap it right here. Don't be scared, people. It is not black magic. Wrap it a couple times, and what you're going to do is take that yoke and you're going to tweak it, bring it over this way. I'm exaggerating, of course, but you're bringing it over this way. Now, like we were talking about before, if your yoke is too high or too low, and you saw how we checked if it was too high or too low, you can take a bar or something. If it's too low, you want to take something of the proper diameter. I've got a copper piece of pipe here. You've got to put it in here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to stretch it. We're not He-Manning it here, people. Little at a time. If it's too high, you're gonna take your yoke and your cylinder like so, and you're gonna wrap it right here. Just right here. Just take and tap it. Do it a couple times. Go slow. That's how you do it. You're not gonna hurt anything, guys. So just a quick and easy way to fix your yoke and align your yoke without having to buy an $80 tool. But again, if you're scared of what you're doing, if you don't feel comfortable with it, send it back to the factory. Try it out anyway. How else are you gonna learn if you don't try it? And if it doesn't work out, if it still doesn't, still sticky, then send it back to the factory. And again, you guys remember one of our earlier videos, we taught you guys how to check sing on a double action revolver. Remember sing? Sing is the probability of the hand coming up and grabbing the ratchet and firing the gun in a high stress situation. You want to cock, you want to pull the trigger until the bolt in the cylinder disengage, and then you're going to turn your cylinder. And you hear that? That's the sound of the ratchet grabbing the back of the cylinder and just caressing it. So you know that ratchet has not been extensively worn out, or your ratchet pad, it hasn't been worn out. 3 stages of sing, guys. Straight back, where you hold the trigger straight back, and then you want to do it to the left where you're pushing it this way, and then you want to pull it to the right and do it. So we're going to do the right where you're putting pressure, pulling to the right. Hear the sing? Now we're going to be pushing it this way to the left. And now we're going to push it straight back, or pull it straight back. And you hear the ratchet coming into contact with the hand. That's your sing. That's what you want to look for, especially when you're buying one of these guys used. If you guys have any questions, comments, or complaints, probably had a lot of complaints after you saw me hammering on it, but you know what? It worked. Try it, have some fun. These are guns, people. We're not doing surgery here. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send them on down. Till next time.